On Monday past uh, was the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz home and part of the network of concentration camps and death camps of the Holocaust of the Nazi regime during World War II. Present were German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, King Charles, French President Emmanuel Macron, Polish President Andrzej Duda, amongst others. Speaking in sort of like a pre-ceremony was King Charles, and he said, the act of remembering the horrors of the past remains a vital task, and in doing so, we inform our present and shape our future. So we have to remember everything of the past, warts and all, so that we can inform the present and pave our way into the future. However, everybody seemed to forget who liberated the very place they were remembering. Of course, it was Russia or the Soviet Union back then, who liberated Auschwitz and made the German Nazi troops to surrender in 1945 in that area on the eastern, what they call the eastern flanks. In fact, liberating Poland because they also liberated Warsaw.
Yeah.
Russia was not invited by the Museum of Auschwitz to attend, even though it was because of them the ceremony could have taken place at all. Because if they had lost, as they all going says, we would all be speaking German. So, of course, all of this is because of politics. Because of politics. It's because, you know, Putin and Zelensky are duking it out with each other. But politics shouldn't try and rewrite history, surely. The sacrifice of the Soviet troops was vast, with millions dying for the cause. One can say that the Soviet Union wanted Poland for itself and was the main reason why they entered Poland. But the Germans wanted to do the same thing, only decided to kill nearly 6 million of them in the process. When they met in the middle, they fought each other, and lucky for Poland, the Russians won in the end. So if the museum was to try and justify the snubbing of Russia at that ceremony because of this, then surely inviting the German representative was even worse. And these are supposed to be the adults in the room. Another one, short and sweet.
Yes, well, yeah, I know I've been seeing this pump around. I mean, okay, there's issues in Eastern Europe between Zelensky, Russia, whatever. Been an ideal place to actually bring them together, sit them in a room and start negotiations. Okay, like he says naively and knowing the implication what I'm saying, yeah, to get him and Putin and Zelensky together in possibly a neutral area of remembrance. It's yeah, I mean, there was a lot that was going around and all this. I mean, the fact there's still wars going on and possibly what's going on to a certain extent in Eastern Europe is still a tag on from the end of World War II. It's when it's a very, very sad state we're in at the moment. We're celebrating 80 years of possibly the worst tyranny, the end of the worst tyranny the world had ever seen. And let's make no doubts, whatever way everybody might accuse people of doing different things and all that, this was the worst tyranny, probably outside Africa, fun enough, that we've seen in modern world.
In the modern era.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, okay, it's difficult. The Russian sacrifice was instrumental. They got to Berlin first. Absolutely, yeah. Okay, there's some atrocities that were done by the Russians there that may not have occurred had had the American stroke British got there first. But I mean, okay, as you said, you've got to remember the bad points as well. Um, and yeah, I mean, I don't know what happened there. I mean, I know there's other issues. Is that we're having a Holocaust memorial things, and the word Jew wasn't even mentioned in a lot of places as well, which is getting a little bit away from this. But I just want to make that as a side, which to me is it's not even peculiar. It's just downright. I don't know. It's strange. It's weird. Yeah.
I'm not sure if any of the people who were massacred, if their ethnicity was ever mentioned, you know, like gypsies
Well, that's it. I was
and
going to go into that. Yeah. I mean, I've been to Dachau, and it doesn't matter which one you go to. You go to these museums.
Mhm.
Um, the history's too real. I mean, when you walk around these places, you see where people were hung on meat hooks and or other things. You see blood trenches. I get emotional talking about it because, yeah, it does affect you. You see beds where people were strapped down. You see torture places. Yeah. And they photographed it all as well. Yeah. It's not some sort of obscure medieval illustration, which may have been um, enhanced. These are actual photographs of things happening. You've got newsreel if you care to sort it out and check it out. Young girls, young boys murdered, youth, old people. Yeah. Okay, you say gypsies and everything else. I mean, it doesn't matter who they were. They were considered subhuman. Um,
I'm
and
talking about them being mentioned,
yeah,
being cited.
yeah. I mean, there were records kept, but yeah.
No, during the during the commemoration.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. I mean, if yeah, to me, as you're quite right, these politicians, to me, they are virtual. They've gone to the stage of being virtual signaling now. They don't represent what I feel, and I've just given an emotional, not deliberately. I didn't have time to prepare for it of a visit to a place of reality, what it meant for me. I don't see these. I can't even consider. I don't want to hate on anyone, but I do not have respect for these people doing this. Yeah. Um, I can't remember a time when I ever felt like this about a collection of dignitaries. Yeah. We're just standing there, empty shells, empty shells. I can't speak for them. Maybe they felt something. Maybe they've just become keen to not showing any emotion. Um, I know this is the whole thing of British stiff upper lip and everything else. Okay, we need that sometimes in order to achieve things. But yeah, to remember, and I don't care, and even yeah, I spoke to I think his grandfather or something. He saw people burning to death in oil when he was in the Navy during World War II. And I think I said, or somebody said, well, were they British or Germans? He said, it doesn't matter. Okay, taken away from it a little bit. Yeah. And that was his attitude. Yeah. It didn't matter. These are still people. Um, People are in a situation they don't want to be there. Now, these concentration camps were places designed, absolutely designed for the destruction of human existence, life. Yeah. And very mechanized. And the collection of fillings, the collection of glasses, the collection of shoes, the collection of everything else, the total dehumanization of, of individuals. Yeah. Um, I mean, the only decent thing is they did give them all a number. They recorded a number or start, yeah. What you have to remember is just before the end of the war, they actually ran the okay, we're calling them Germans, okay, because it was Germans. I'm not saying yeah. Yeah, to say there were only 7 Nazis in Germany during World War II is wrong. Yeah, these people were Germans, and they actually ramped up the massacre. They didn't stop it to get rid of evidence and everything. Yeah, it didn't sort of start to tail off. That he ramped it up because there was still a belief in what they were doing. Um, it's yeah, I mean, everybody talks about this and that. Um, I'm afraid that our leaders now, and I do include Prince Charles sorry, King Charles the Third. I'm still, yeah, sorry about that. Anyone that's a royalist, King Charles the Third, when he does his speeches, I'm sorry, but it's gutless, it's meaningless, it's just words given to a third-rate actor. Yeah, and what I said could be construed as treason, but it's not representative of anyone that actually studied history or knows or feels anything compassion for humans. And
it's somebody who's just paying lip service and
exactly,
trying to keep himself in the status quo,
mm,
so he doesn't get sacked.
yeah,
If
well,
you know what I mean.
well, that's it. I mean, apparently there's other things might be going on within the British circles of Dharma threatening to have a referendum about the existence or non-existence or continuation of the royal family. Um, yeah, but getting back to these ceremonies, I looked at them and I felt they were very shallow, even watching it on YouTube. Now, maybe I thought, maybe I'm getting older, maybe I've seen so much. It's interesting other people have felt the same, that this is an important part of human history overall. If we're looking at points of humans, and it's a really bad, sick place. And I know there's wars happening now, and I know horrible things still happening in the world, and we haven't learned. Um, I ain't going to recommend. I mean, if you can't actually go and visit Dachau, Auschwitz, or somewhere else, if you're in London, the Imperial War Museum, the top gallery of the Imperial War Museum, have got an entire Holocaust display. Yeah. Um, yeah, I know there's other issues of people talking about other places in the world at the moment, but if you go and look at that, the way that they've got the models of these camps, the way it explains how it is all done, the reels, the testimonies, yeah, that was more meaningful. Visiting the place. This is more meaningful than watching some politician or some dignitary or someone read from a script. It meant a lot more to me to understand. I've got books behind me with pictures in. Yeah. You can find them on the internet. That means a lot more than hearing these shellless individuals or these speak. I'm sorry. That's how I feel now. There was a time when you used to watch a politician and see the emotion in them. I don't know if it's now because it's so long ago, these people are remote. Some of these people are still older than I am. Yeah. I am probably the last generation that had contact with people who I've had relatives in my family, Polish, funny enough, who were in concentration camps, who
100,
suffered late.
there are 195,000 Holocaust survivors still alive.
Yeah, yeah,
The world.
yeah. I mean, but I have had, yeah, Polish. You talk about Polish relatives of my family were in a concentration camp, and they suffered later on in life. What happened to them? Yeah. People are still living it today, like you said, 195. It's going down each year, obviously. I mean, I don't know the figures on that. Um, yeah, the worst atrocity and a very, very shallow performance. What we have to remember is the people running the museum are being funded, probably being existence in positions are probably state sponsored as well.
Yeah, I just felt I had to say something because you can't change history, and the very people that liberated you from such a quagmire, you turn your back on them,
Well, I mean,
uh,
yeah,
pretend
it's
that pretend that they didn't exist, and
yeah,
that's a
well that
huge mistake, a huge mistake.
yeah, and I know what you're saying. I mean, I was just making a point about what it all means to me, and then moving on. Yeah, um, we can't even put aside differences for one day in this world. This divided, well, we're not meant to be divided anymore. We have got the most communication, the most, yeah. And we all know what's going on with regards to the conflict in Eastern Europe, which is, if you like, prevented certain people being invited. I mean, it could have, I mean, there's still, you get Ukrainians and Russians still operating together in the UN. Okay, they've got to separate them sometimes. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, you could have had at least had a Russian person, even a local delegate, attend this ceremony, at least as an acknowledgement. Or maybe they got instructed not to by the leadership. You don't know the full story, but yeah, I agree with you. 28 million Russians died fighting the tyranny. Okay, you can argue the way that the military is was constructed, the Red Army, and yeah, they weren't allowed to retreat, as it were. Otherwise, they'd face their own guns. But it's still 28 million souls that have gone. Yeah, as I said, I'm getting quite emotional talking about this because it's just something that's quite close to my spirit. Having seen it, having spoken to, met people that were involved directly in it, and yeah, I've got a collection of things about things as well. Yeah, as a species, we're not moving forward. I'll say that. And
Okay.
even as a people, if we want to move forward, we're prevented from doing it by our leaders.